Hi everyone, on February 21st, Last Epoch releases. This is a new ARPG coming out. It has been in early access for quite a while. I've played it on and off, and I want to start covering and blasting it when it comes out. So this is my first video in a series of videos leading up to launch and beyond, where I want to teach you about the game. In case you have never heard about it, well, I'm going to teach you the basics. I'm going to have a lot of stuff ready for you, so stay tuned. And today I want to talk about my top 5 features of the game that I think will surprise new players coming to the game that have never heard about it. And the first feature you can see right here, and that's the offline mode. This is something that is actually not really so common anymore these days, especially in RPGs. We know Diablo, we know Path of Exile, they are online only games. But Last Epoch actually has a full offline client. In fact, this is what I have played back when I started my first character here. This is a very old character, for example. But you can play this game fully offline. There is no server lags, no disconnects, and it's obviously very good for hardcore. So this is definitely something that I enjoy, and I think a lot of other people also appreciate. Obviously, you cannot trade for other people when you play offline, and you also cannot convert an offline character to an online character. But for people that want to play on their own anyway, you have a solution right here. And the cool part about this is that you're not locked out of any content playing offline or playing even like the non-seasonal equivalent in this game compared to other games. So for example, when a new Diablo season releases or a new Path of Exile league comes out, you cannot play that league's content in the standard mode or in non-season. But in Last Epoch, they actually want to put all of the so-called cycles content into all of the modes. So you're not locked out of playing any of the new content, even if you play it offline, even if you play it on your standard characters. Number 2, the Ingame Wiki. So this game actually has a so-called game guide that you can open up right here that actually teaches you how the game works. So you have a bunch of things that you can look up, especially like, basic game mechanics, like how do items work, how is the combat, how does stuff like Ignite work. You can just type it in the search bar and it will actually tell you how the different mechanics of the game function. This is really cool because it allows you to kind of start the game from scratch, and especially if you're like a bit of an experienced ARPG player, you will probably grasp a lot of the concepts. So there are a lot of similarities that Last Epoch has taken from other games as inspiration, and you may not know the exact details of everything, but you can look it up here and you have the formulas. It can tell you, how to actually figure out how to build your character without really hand-holding you too much. Personally, I think this Ingame Wiki is a really cool addition to the game, and it just allows you to kind of have the agency you need in order to understand how to build your character. And this can be really helpful to just, create a build from scratch. Not only that, but the tooltips in this game are also extremely detailed and really tell you what actually happens. So you can press Alt, for example, to get, for example, the item stat ranges and the tier of the roll that you got. And also tells you even tier 5 is the maximum craftable, and then tier 6 is drop only, as on this item, for example. And then you can even press Alt and Control, and you get even more information about, what the individual effects actually do, in case you don't want to open up the wiki in game. So I think this is really amazing and teaches new players the ropes very easily. Third point, and another really great quality of life addition, are the in-game loot filters. So this game has an in-game system where you can create loot filters from scratch. So you can see this here right now. This is, for example, the loot filter that I made. And it may seem somewhat complicated, but it's actually really simple and really easy to use. Usually, I don't really like fiddling with loot filters, for example, in Path of Exile. And, well, Diablo doesn't have them at all, at least so far, so that's a bit sad. But here you have them directly integrated. And it's super easy once you figure out the basics to use them. And you don't necessarily have to go super detailed and spend like hours fiddling around this. I literally spent maybe a total of 10 minutes or so setting this up while playing this character all the way to level 90. And here and there I figure out, okay, I want to start hiding some of the low level items. I want to start focusing more on some of those other things. And you can literally just press on add rule, and then you have a few different options here, like either show or hide or recolor certain things that you want to focus on. Then you can add conditions. You can say, okay, what affixes, what level, what item type. You can filter out, I'm playing a melee rogue here, for example. I don't need to see ranged weapons. I just filter out all the ranged weapons. I filter out all the two-handed weapons. So you just click on these things, And then you can have like additional rules here or additional conditions. And then you say, okay, I want to see, only katanas, and they only should show if they have this or that stat. And with a few clicks, you can easily make these items show. It also allows you to, for example, pick up items that you can then disassemble for crafting mods very easily. This is a bit more advanced that I'm going to go into another video. Basically, you can find exactly what you need without really having to go through a lot of items in your inventory after every single run. So if you make a decent loot filter, which again is pretty simple, then you really cut down the time that you spend actually outside of Monolith, which are the endgame system, and more time in the runs actually playing the game. And I feel this is really worth mentioning here. Speaking of inventory, one really cool addition is basically infinite stash space in this game. Yeah, that's right. And it doesn't cost anything. So there is a limitation, I believe it's 100 stash tabs, but you can buy them with in-game gold, and it's not really hard to acquire it. And you can see this here. These stash tabs are really large. You can fit a lot of items in there. You can make categories here of tabs that you can then have like, other nested tabs below, and you can color them, you can name them, and you can also search in them. So there's like this filter system here. You can just, search for, I don't know, sword or something, and it will actually show you tabs that have items like that in them. And it's a very, well thought out system that allows you to kind of like hoard everything you want. You can, hoard items for your alts. You can, just throw in items that you want to try to craft on later. It works really well, and especially combined with the loot filter system that I had just explained. You can, for example, make different categories here. This is like for one of my characters. Here I have crafting bases. Here's some old stuff that I might want to keep around, and so on. So this is just kind of like how I organize this, and you can just easily, go here, add an extra stash tab. It costs a bit of gold. The gold cost increases over time, but you see here, I didn't try very hard, and I already have like 20 different tabs or something like that that you can use right now. And yeah, you can just like, add more and more as you go. So this is a great feature and makes like, actually playing the game a lot less of a headache when you want to hoard a lot of items. And last but not least, my last point for this video is the trade and the SSF factions. So this is something that's not in the game yet, but it will come on release on February 21st, and it's already available on the beta client for like the closed beta testing. And this is this post here. So I will also link this in the description. I also made a video about this actually like a few weeks ago when I previewed this, but TLDR, you can choose one of two factions with each of your characters that either allow you to trade items with other players or allow you to boost your drop rates or like allow target farming of items if you're more of a solo player. And you can also freely swap between the two. And there are some systems in place to prevent like an abuse of, like boosted drop rates to then trade them to other people. So it's a very well thought out system, and it kind of caters to all of the different playstyles. So this is a really a great addition and really cool innovation, I believe, for the RPG genre, and something I'd also really like to see in other games. But essentially, you can rank up in those factions and then unlock more and more perks. And for example, for the trade faction, you can unlock more and more item types that you can trade to other people, or more and more rarity types. For example, like, early on, you can't trade uniques, but as you unlock and play more, you actually can trade uniques later on, for example. And likewise for the solo self-found faction, basically, it's not exactly called that way, but there is like a way to unlock more and more like powerful target farming opportunities. For example, in the form of prophecies, where you go and defeat a certain boss or, do a certain objective, and then you get a reward for it. So this is a really cool system that is coming to the game, which again, I can't really show the exact details of, but you can also read up on this in this post here if you want to see more of it. But it definitely makes it so that, for example, for those offline characters, as I had described earlier, you can, for example, play this Circle of Fortune faction, which is like the solo self-found faction, and you're going to get boosted drop rates. Whereas if you play online and you want to trade, you can go with the Merchant's Guild to the trade faction and then have like an economy around it. But even with one or the other chosen, you can still play with your friends and you can still trade items with your friends through an extra system. So you're not locked out of playing together with someone else in case they are part of the other faction. So it's a really cool addition to the game, and I think it's going to make this like a really unique and fun experience. Now, all in all, this video doesn't really cover the entirety of Last Epoch. There is going to be more videos coming from me, and I'm going to talk also about a lot more stuff, like, for example, the crafting system, which I believe is amazing as well. I'm going to go in depth of that as well. Obviously, I'm going to talk about builds, how the skill system work. So this is another few, let's say, honorable mentions I want to put in this video, but I think they deserve their own spotlight, so I'm going to cover them separately. For now, I think these are just like some of the main points that I really wanted to highlight that make Last Epoch really great. And I think this might be something that a lot of people might either not know about and might be surprised about. So I wanted to put this in here. So that's it for what I wanted to put in this video here. I hope you enjoyed this. Stay tuned for more. So I'm going to have a lot of videos coming up, as I mentioned at the intro. And also I'll be live streaming here on YouTube and also on my Twitch channels. So come tune in, especially on a launch. I'll be blasting. And let's see where we can get with here. Hope you liked this video here, and I'll see you guys next time.